All right, guys, here we get into chapter 2.2. So 2.2. Here we go, up at the top of my paper. This is comparing and ordering fractions and decimals. So we start with number 6, which is order from least to greatest. So knowing that you're going from least to greatest is a very important idea, because even down below when it goes order from greatest to least, I messed that up. So make sure you're paying attention to how you're ordering them. Okay, so number 6. Which looks like this. 1 3/4, 5/7, and 1 3/5. 1 3/5. Okay. So hopefully you can see that right there. My first thing that I need to do is look at my whole number. So 1, there's no whole number here, so that means there's a 0, and then there's another 1 here. So now in between these two, I need to look at their numerator, which is up here. They're both the same. Then I need to look at their denominator. So 3/4. So if I had a pizza that was cut 3 out of 4 slices, or 3 out of 5, my 3 out of 4 would be bigger because you're cutting it in smaller bits. So my denominator is smaller, which means that my number is actually bigger. So 1, so we are going from least to greatest. So we're going to start with 5/7, comma, because this has a 0 in front of it. So it is less than both of these ones. Now I go, all right, well, I would rather have bigger slices, which would be 3/4. So this would be 1 3/5 next. And then 1 3/4. Although your denominator is smaller, it means that you're cutting it in bigger pieces. So I'm just going to give you a quick example. This and this are the same length. If I needed to cut this, let's say this is I need to cut this in 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's say these are even pieces. I know they're not. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I know these also aren't even pieces, but look, in this one, this would be our 3/5. And this would be our 3/4. See how much more I get of this? Let's say this is a candy bar. See how much more of this candy bar I get rather than this candy bar? So that's how I knew that 3/5 was smaller than 3/4. All right. So now we move on to number 7. I would like you to actually do number 7 on your own, and then you're going to come back here and we are going to do number 7 together. So do number 7 on your own, and then I will go ahead and show you my work for number 7. Oops. All right, so for number 7, we are comparing 0.6, 2/3, and 0.7. 6, 6. Okay. Oops, sorry. There we go. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to make this fraction into a decimal. So how I'm going to do that is through a division problem. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to say, what is 3, 0, 0, 0. I can add as many zeros as I need to. I'm just adding 3. All right, so how many times can 3 go into 2? 0 times. I need to bring up my decimal point. How many times can 3 go into 20? Okay, let me think about that. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so I know I need to get higher than that. 3 times 4 is 12. Let's try 3 times 6. Ooh, 3 times 6 is 18. So we go up here. 6. So 0.6 already. Now this becomes 18. 20 minus 18, so 1. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 equals 2. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Now I bring down this next 0. We have 20 again. How many times can 3 go into 20? Well, I knew it could go into 6 times because 3 times 6 is 18. I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's repeating. So I'm going to keep going for just 1 sec. 1, this becomes 10. 10 minus 8 equals 2. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Now I bring down this next 0. Okay, so this is 20 once again. 3 times 6 is 18. 18. 20 minus 18 equals 2. I remember that from the last time. So this can continue going forever. This is a repeating decimal. So the numbers I am comparing are 0.6. My 2/3 becomes 0.66 repeating. So 0.66 repeating. And then my next number is 0.66 not repeating. So these are pretty hard to compare because they look very, very similar. I'm just going to move this up for you guys. All right, so if I think of this is 0.60 actually. So is 0.60 bigger than or less than 0.66 repeating or 0.66? So it is less than. So this would be my first because it's 0.6 and it's really 0.60 if you were to put a 0 after it. All right. Now we go here. So I know I already did this one. 0.66 repeating or 0.66. Which one is less? All right, well, this would be 0.66 and the rest would be zeros. And if this is 0.66, the rest would be 6s. Okay, so I know 666 would be larger than 660. So this one would go here, 0.66 not repeating. So that makes my largest one 0.66 repeating. All right, I'd like you to go ahead and do number 8 on your own. All right. Now we go ahead. We are on number 9, which means we are writing we're still comparing fractions in this one. So we're comparing, this is number 9. We are comparing 7/15 over 7/10. Okay, just how I practiced with you not even the other day. Right with this problem right here. 3/5 was less than 3/4 because if it's cut smaller pieces, you're going to get more. All right. So with this one, my numerator is the same. My numerator is my top number. They are the same. So now I need to compare the denominator. 15 is larger than 10, but 7/10 is larger than 7/15. Because if you have a pizza with 15 pieces and you have 7 pieces, this would be smaller slices. If you have 10 slices instead of 15, you're going to get bigger pieces. So 7/15 is less than 7/10. I would like you to try number 10 on your own. Remember how you would get from a decimal to a fraction. I'll show you my work for number 10 once you complete that on the Edpuzzle. So number 10. You're comparing 1/8 compared to 0.125. All right. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick division problem, which would be 8 divided by 1. And I can put my decimal point there, 0, 0, 0. All right. 8 cannot go into 1. I'm going to bring up my decimal point. 8 can go into 10 how many times? It can go in 1 time. Okay, so 10 minus 8 equals 2. Bring down the 0. How many times can 8 go into 20? All right, I know 8 times 1 equals 8, so 8 times 2 equals 16. So 16. It can go in 2 times, okay? So now this becomes my subtraction problem. I have to borrow. This becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 equals 4. 1 minus 1 equals 0. Okay, now I bring down again. This becomes 40. 8 times 2 equals 16. 8 times 3 equals, 8 times 3 equals 24. 8 times 4 equals 32. So that might be my closest, but let's try 8 times 5 equals 40. So that's my exact one. So 40. 0, 0. So this decimal point terminates because it ends with 0, 0. You cannot continue. All right, so now really the numbers that I'm comparing is 0.125 compared to, because this is what my 1/8 became, so I'm just going to write it on top. That's what my 1/8 became, compared to 0.125. So are these two equal, or is one greater than? If you guessed equal, you were right. All right, so now I'd like you to go ahead and do number 11 on your own, and then we will move down to number 12 together after. All right, I actually changed my mind. I want you just to do 12 with me because of time. So number 12. The directions say order from greatest to least. So this is a little bit different than our last one. But I would like you to try number 12 on your own, and then I will go through and show you my work after. So 5.5 compared to 5.05. Okay. Compared to 5 and 5/9. All right. So my first thing that I see right here is that I have two numbers that are mixed numbers, and I have one that is a decimal. So I'm going to change that one that's a decimal. I can change that by saying this is 5, because that's my whole number. It's going to stay the same. And this would be, let's check. All right, so this would become 5, and I'm going to do this. This is 5 over 100. All right, so now I need to get that to its simplest form. So I divide both by 5. So 5 equals 1 over 20. 1 over 20. So now I'm comparing 5 and 1/2 and 5 and 5/9. So that is the comparison I'm trying to make. Okay, so if I just look at the numbers and just by the pictures that I drew above, so this is kind of what they all have the same whole number. So we can't compare by whole number. So I'm just going to draw a picture for myself. This is my 5 1/2. Okay, so my half is just going to be in the middle. I have 1/2, so 1 out of the 2. Okay, and I'm going to do my next picture. It would be 5 and 1/20. I'm going to try to make these as even as possible. Okay, so this would represent my 5 and 1/20, because only this tiny sliver would be filled in. So if I'm just comparing these two, which one's bigger? My 5 1/2 would be bigger because the block that it covers is much larger. Okay, so now 5 and 5/9. So let me raise this up just a little bit. All right, so 5 and 5/9. Be right here. Okay, so 5 and 5/9. I mean, I fill in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm just going to compare. At this point, I already know my 5 and 1/2 was already bigger, but now let's compare these two. My 5 and 5/9. I want to find out which one is greatest because that's the one I'm going to put first. So if I look at these two charts, this one fills in more. So my 5 and 5/9 is my greatest, okay? I know my 5 1/2 was my next greatest, so 5 and 1/2. Then I know my 5 and 5/9 was my least. So this is the correct ordering. All right, so if you have time, you can go ahead and go on to number 13.